Welcome. Let's dive into a fascinating idea that our identity isn't something we just have, but something we're constantly doing. We're going to connect a really foundational social theory about how we perform our lives to a gripping, real-world case study where identity is seriously on the line. So let's pull back the curtain. So let's just start with a huge question. Are we all just acting? I mean, really? It sounds a little dramatic, but it gets right to the heart of what sociologists call dramaturgical analysis, this idea that our social lives are basically just a series of performances. Think about it. Every time you walk into a room or meet someone new, you are, in a way, putting on a show. You're trying to communicate who you are, or, maybe more accurately, who you want other people to think you are in that moment. It's all about managing that impression. As soon as we interact with anyone, we present a version of ourselves. We're pretty much saying, okay, this is who I am right now, and this is the reality that we're both operating in. We're basically asking everyone else to buy into this definition so the whole interaction can actually move forward smoothly. And this brings us to the brilliant sociologist Erving Goffman. He used the metaphor of the theater to explain all of this social interaction. For Goffman, all the world really is a stage, and all of us, well, we're all just performers, constantly managing how we appear to others. At the very core of Goffman's theory is this concept, impression management. And whether we're even conscious of it or not, we are constantly doing this. It's the strategic and sometimes totally instinctive work we do to try and influence how other people see us. Now, Goffman makes a really fascinating distinction here. He talks about the expressions we give, the things we say, like, I'm a confident leader. But then there are the expressions we give off. These are the nonverbal cues, our posture, our tone of voice, that nervous fidgeting we do, and other people are constantly reading those cues to check if our performance feels, well, authentic. So, here's the crucial part. A social interaction kind of unfolds in steps. First, we project a version of ourself that helps define the situation for everyone there. And the goal really is to reach what Goffman called a working consensus, basically a temporary agreement on what's real so that the interaction can just keep going without falling apart. Okay, so that's the theory. Now let's see how this plays out in a really high-stakes environment. We're shifting from the abstract to the front lines, and we're going to look at a study of French police officers who feel like their very identity as a true cop is under attack. So the central conflict for these officers is this big institutional push away from the action-packed police work they really value, the stuff on the streets, and toward a future that's dominated by paperwork and clerical duties. For them, this isn't just a change in their job description. It feels like an attack on who they are. And this leads us to the study's central argument. To resist this change and defend their identity, these officers engage in a really specific kind of performance. They use their own bodies as the main stage for their identity work. First up, fitness. Daily, intense physical training isn't just about staying healthy. It's about producing and maintaining a professional body, one that visibly shows it can handle hardship. As one officer put it, going to the gym is like part of my job. It is who I am. It's a physical performance of being ready for anything. Second, intimidation. In the tight space of an interrogation room, the body becomes a powerful tool. Officers will use their physical presence, standing over a suspect who's sitting down, holding intense eye contact, just controlling the space to establish their authority and completely define the reality of that situation. One even said, a police officer is someone who never looks down. Third on the list is toughness. Enduring physical hardship becomes this absolutely crucial part of the performance. Whether it's sitting for hours in a cramped boiling car during surveillance or facing horrific crime scenes, these ordeals become rites of passage. They prove to yourself and to your colleagues that you have what it takes to be a true cop. And finally, cleanliness. Now, this one might seem surprising, but the officers' meticulous attention to hygiene, showering multiple times, keeping their car spotless, is actually a performance of professionalism. It's a way for them to create a moral and physical barrier between themselves and the dirtiness of their work, reinforcing an identity as clean experts, not, as one officer put it, scavengers. So look, when we see it laid out like this, it's so clear. Each of these bodily practices is a form of impression management. Fitness produces a capable body. Intimidation performs control. Toughness proves resilience. And cleanliness projects professionalism. It is literally identity work, performed through the body. When you put it all together, you realize that the officers' bodies have become way more than just personal projects. They've actually become political resources, tools that they use to resist an organizational change that they fundamentally reject. This quote from an officer in the study just says it all, doesn't it? I am my body. The connection is absolute. The body isn't just something they have. It's inseparable from their sense of who they are. It's the one thing they feel they can control, a trustworthy object in a world that feels like it's changing under their feet. So the crucial point is this. By disciplining their own bodies according to their own ideals of what a cop should be, the officers are asserting a kind of control. Their physical self becomes a bulwark, a last line of defense for that true cop identity they are so committed to protecting. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If the body is so central to performing identity and a physical job like policing, what happens in our increasingly digital world? As so many of us work from behind a screen, is the body's role in our professional identity shrinking, or is it just being performed in new and totally different ways?